We're going to do a walkthrough on the Leisure, the new model. We're going to open up the hood. So let's take a look at some of the checks we can do underneath the hood. Some of the user maintenance items that we have. We're going to drop the hood prop down. We're going to go left to right. The oil is actually checked at the cluster on the dash, and we can also check the DEF fluid level. This is where you would add the diesel exhaust fluid. Right above it we can check the engine coolant. This is Mercedes pink. You would add oil here if you need to. Now that oil is going to be a 0.30 weight, and it's a full synthetic oil, so you won't have to do that for every 20,000 miles or 1 year, whichever comes first. Okay, air cleaners under here. This is an opening for the air intake for the air breather, or the cleaner for the dash. It's actually for the cabin air filter. Looking over here, we got a jump start for the battery for the chassis. A positive goes here, negative goes over here on the side. So we hook up there, we can actually hook our jumper cables to there and jump start the battery, which is underneath the driver's floorboard. I have my washer fluid here in the front, washer wipers. This is an oil filter. On the top here is a drop-in oil filter. Brake fluid on the master cylinder. And you can see there's no battery here. It's actually underneath the driver's floorboard is where that's located. I got this handy little step to get me up to wash my windshield I can use. And I have a little opening here in the bumper. I can take this cover off, and I can put in a eyelet, which is in your toolkit on the passenger side, and I can put that in here and be towed up on a flatbed or pulled out of a muddy spot or something like that. I'm going to lower this back down. Just remember, on the oil, 20,000 miles or 1 year, whichever comes first. Work our way around here. These mirrors do fold in, so I can park in a tighter space in a parking garage or on a ferry or something like that. I've got my diesel fuel underneath the cover for the diesel. I want to show you some of the fuses. I've got chassis fuses here for the Mercedes side of the chassis. I've also got more chassis fuses for the turn signal, the horn, and the lights over on the passenger side below the floorboard, as well as the toolkit over there. I've got auto position for the lights, and then I've got buttons over here for my fog lights. We've got electric seats with memory, and we've got heated seats here as well. Then we've got our electric mirrors here at the top with the electric window controls and then the electric lock. The little light here that would come on if I had that switched over at the top. And there's also dome lights here in the center, place to put your sunglasses and so forth. The top. We're going to open these compartments and take a look and see what we've got. So these just simply spin the handle on these, and you can open these up. Now on the left here, we have our LP generator. This is a 3600 watt generator. It will run everything on the rig, including the air conditioning and the microwave together, which is great because it's a little higher wattage than some of the diesels. But I've got a breaker right here. I want to make sure that breaker is in the on position. You want to pull it toward you. That's engaged and ready to go. So if the breaker trips, you want to have any power to all the appliances inside. So we're going to make sure the breaker's on. We have to turn the LP on. The LP is back here in this compartment. We're going to switch that on. Down below, open this up. And you have an LP switch right here. So we're going to turn that on. And most times you'll hear a little click on the solenoid on the tank. First thing before I run these two, I'm going to check the oil level. So we're going to pop the dipstick out here and just take a look. Do this before you run the thing, before you run the generator. And we can see we're between the hatch marks with the oil level. So I'm going to work that back in. Now the generator is serviced. You want to do the first oil change at 50 hours. That's the break-in period. Then you're going to go, you can go 250 hours for each subsequent oil change. And so you want to do that first one because it's a new engine, it's a break-in period, and we want to make sure we get that done at 50 hours. Air cleaners here, there's no oil filter on this to have to change when you do the oil change. There is a little cover underneath it, and you can take and move that cover out of the way, and there's an oil plug so we can drain the oil. So we're going to start this up. I'm plugged in now, but this is going to automatically switch over to generator power when I turn this on. So you're going to see the red light come on, and you're going to hear this start up. And so I'm priming it right now here. I can stop it by hitting the stop button. Most times you're going to be starting it up inside, off of the controls inside, and that's where your hour meter will be as well. So we're going to put the cover back on it. Always run it with a cover on it. If you don't, it can't cool itself very well. You don't want it to overheat, so always run it with a cover on. This back down, and as we turn these doors, what I like to do is get this door fixed up right here. Just push in on the lever there a little bit. Give yourself some. There you go. Got my furnace exhaust and intake on this. We usually recommend a dauber screen on this to keep the mud daubers out of this. You can get that at all your RV centers as well. We're going to open up the water heater door. This is the Aqua Go, and the water heater out here. When you want to get this thing ready to go, you turn on the LP like I did. You're also going to want to turn on the power switch, and when you turn this on, you've got to have the switch inside turned on, and that light will go green. Let me go turn the power on inside. The disconnect switch at the door, you can turn this on and you're going to get a green light. So that's how we turn on the control board outside on the water heater. We want to make sure there's water in the water heater. You can pop that just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we'll have to turn on the water pump. You know, I don't even know if I have water in this thing yet, so I don't think I do. And so you would turn on the water pump right over here on this side, and that'll give you water pressure. You see it shooting out of there. So water pressure here, turn that on, or hook up your city water. So this doesn't have a filter in it, so we would need to put there's a filter inside that we can slide into here, and when we put that filter in, that's already going to be installed for you, but we'll put that filter in, and we're going to reach up, we'll latch this into place. And so that'll be the water filter for the water heater. And you got to have that in place so it seals this up. This is actually a drain. So when we want to drain the water heater, pull that down, and then the water's just going to drain out of this container here and out of the tubes, the copper tubes, and run out. So that's how we drain the water heater, and we winterize the water heater, part of the process. And so we'll come back and put that filter in before we actually use it. So I want to hook up my power, and so I need to get my my line for that. I'm going to hook up with my 30 amp. So I'm raising this up. I've got my 30 amp cord just sitting here in the compartment. And this is keyed. It only goes in one way. You can see on the 30 amp. So I'm going to push that in and twist it to the right. And then we're going to lock in the power plug, just like this. And then we can put our cover down. Keeps out the water. Keeps that connection secure. Keeps it from getting come loose, knocked loose. So we're going to hook up our power. And you also, on your power cord, you have an indicator light here. It will be blue. You can see the blue right there. So you have a light there, and you also have a blue light on the coach side on the lid. So when I have power coming in the coach, I know that at least I have power at my shore power hookup that I'm working with. And you have dual tires on the back. You have a single on the front as far as the tires. And the tire pressure for this is 61 PSI in the front, 58 in the rear on the rear duals. And so when you look at these duals, what I always recommend to people with the center caps like this and the hub caps is I recommend that you get yourself some metal valve stems for the wheels. You have those put on, and also put some valve extenders so that comes outside of the hubcap. It makes it a lot easier to be able to check the air pressure and add air as needed. In this case, like in this one, if I was going to check my tires or add air, I would need to take off this Phillips screw on each side, take the hubcap off, the center cap off, and then take off this hubcap. Real easy. You want to take and work yourself around that with a couple of flat blade screwdrivers, and that will take off your hubcap, but be careful you don't bend that. So that's a good idea to get valve extenders from Discount Tire or somewhere like that. I want to show you while we're looking inside of here, this is actually the valve for my freshwater tank. So when I want to put water in my freshwater tank, I need to close that valve, and then that way I can add water to that freshwater tank. But that's the drain valve. So when I do need to drain out that tank, I can open that up, and it's just going to run out and pour out on the ground. I don't have any water in at the moment, but we'll put some in. So I'm going to bring in my water hose. So my water hose will come into this, what we call the wet bay. It's going to come up into the opening here, and it's going to tie right into this orange connector that you see. You'll want to use a pressure regulator back at the faucet, and so we'll have water pressure coming in right here. And you see I have an outside hot and cold shower as well if I need that. If I need to clean up or wash myself off or whatever. So put yourself some soap out here. You'll need to be using those things out here. Now a couple of things with the valves in here. I want to make sure this valve is in the normal flow. This is a winterizing valve, so when I do have this in winterizing position, I could use this hose that you see right here, and I could go down to a gallon of antifreeze, RV antifreeze, and I could winterize my coach so that when I turn on the water pump here, that's going to suck up the antifreeze into the lines throughout the coach, and that's how we winterize them here at the business. But in this case though, I'm going to go back to normal flow. That way water will go through my water pump and be taking it from my tank and so forth, and be able to use it so it goes to the right place inside the coach. I've got also a place I can hook up my cable TV, and so I can tie that back at the cable at the pedestal at the park, and so I'm tying into here. Another valve I want to make sure right now that I'm in the normal position. This is actually a fill valve for the freshwater tank, so I have water coming into this connection. All I have to do when I want to fill my tank is to rotate that to the fill position, and that's going to fill up the water tank, the freshwater tank, as much as I need. And then when I'm done, go back to the normal position. You want to leave it in this position whether you're on city water or if you're using the water out of the tank, which that's what they call normal. I want to make sure these valves are shut off. This is actually my low point drain for the coach. It's below the floor line, so I'm able to drain out my hot and cold lines in the coach as part of the winterizing, or if I just want to take out that bad water, I can open these up and take this off, and that'll drain out on the ground. So when we look back at this, I got my propane on. I might want to turn on my water pump switch here if I'm running off the water tank, and then that will let me use all the water out of my freshwater tank, and I can have all the faucets operating. So I want to look at these connections over here. Now you'll need to get yourself a sewer hose, and the sewer hose is going to connect here. Let me open this up. So the sewer hose actually just twist on here. Recommend a sewer hose with a rod angle adapter that goes down into the sewer, and I recommend that you have a clear connection on that so you can see when things clear up if you're wanting to flush out that black tank. So if you look in the back here, or up here, your valves are here. We're going to leave these valves shut until it gets time to dump the tanks, and we're going to watch the gauges inside, and when the gauges say full on the black tank, we'll come out here and we'll open up the black first, let that run out, and then we'll come behind it with the gray and open that up after we shut the black, and let that clear out our hose, and that's going to help wash out the hose. Now there may be some times, maybe one time while you're at the park, you want to flush out your black tank. So you could actually hook a garden hose up to this, not your drinking hose. You want to use a garden hose on this, a separate hose. Hook up to that, open up the black valve, and when you open up that black valve, I'm going to pull it, there's no water in it now, but when I open up the black, I can put water into here, and that's going to spray down the sides of that tank, and it's going to help clean and flush that tank out. And so that's the reason for having the clear adapter on the right angle adapter, or the clear adapter here at this side of the sewer. I can see when it gets cleared out. So once it's clear, then I can shut off the water, and then go ahead and shut your black tank valve, and then you're ready to go. This little plug that they give you from Leisure is a blowout plug, and in your manual it talks about winterizing the coach. Well, part of the winterizing that they want to have you do is they want to have you put this on the city water connection. When you go to winterizing, you're trying to get all the water out of the lines in the coach, and you're going to actually take pressurized air pressure in here, about 40 or 50 psi, and you're going to blow that air in here. That's going to help clean out all the water that might sit in the hot and cold lines that run throughout this coach, and that's a good way of helping to clear out the water when you're winterizing. So, and we'll put this inside in the cabinet for you. Now we're going to put our drip cap back on for travel, and we'll go down the road with that open, but we're going to do that. You can store your sewer hose up in here and some other attachments that you may have. I'd always take my water hose, coil it up, tie the two ends together with the regulator, and put it in a separate compartment if you can. Keep those hoses separated. You have one more coax here I wanted to tell you about. It's at the top. It's called a satellite hookup. Now, these usually have satellites on top, a dome satellite, but you could take another satellite, put it out on a picnic table or a clearing or opening, and run your cable into here. That way you get a clear view of the sky versus the one on top of the coach if that didn't work for you. So that's the other option that you have. I'll put the cover back on here. I'm going to shut that up. We're going to put some water in this before we send it out to you. One more thing we have on it here is our propane fill. So when you take the propane, when you take this coach to go get the propane filled, they're going to fill it here, and they're going to vent it here. And you know, propane has an odor to it, so if you've got a leak, you're going to usually smell propane. And there's also an LP detector inside. So if that LP detector is singing to you, if it's going off and you hear a noise, safest thing you can do is come out here and turn off this propane switch. One other alternative to safety on that is you can turn off the master disconnect switch at the entry door if that's the quickest thing you can get to. But just keep in mind that turns off everything else in your coach that operates off of 12 volts. So bear in mind that your refrigerator, as soon as you get out of the danger zone or you find the leak or whatever, you need to turn that back on to have your fridge working. So I'm going to shut this back down, and these will turn just like we did on the front compartments. You notice there's no lock on these doors, on these two, and that's for safety. That's so the fire department can get in there, or somebody can shut off that LP valve for you when needed. Got a backup camera here. You see the little dot up there? That's the backup camera. I've got my hitch. This particular hitch has a 7-way round for the electrical back here. When you get a hitch for this, just make sure it's long enough that it clears all of your body work in the back, and the ball comes out here so that you could hook up if you want to tow your car and you want to put a tow bar on here. Make sure that it clears all of this. Just another storage in this area. This is also the place that we put the table. There's a big table in here, a big metal table. And so we're going to take that out. There was a locking clip in here, so I can raise this up and spin it to take it out. That's usually the best way to do it. And there's a place here on the side of the coach, here and here, to mount this table. And this has a latch that I can pull up and release. And so when I do that, I'm going to take it in both hands. When I take it up there, you see the lock there. It comes up right there. Okay. And that locks it into place. Then I have the legs that come down. Release that lever there. It's a thumb lever. And you can bring this down. Now these will adjust for you. So you can push in the bead and you can pull it down to different levels that you need for the table height. I can actually go one more. So I can do that with this one as well. Easier said than done, huh? There we go. This makes a nice area to have a picnic table outside, and a place to work and place to cook and things. So I've got an outlet out here, a GFI protected outlet. So I want to make sure that if that trips, I'm going to find the GFI inside to reset it. This is just my vent for my refrigerator, so it takes air into here, takes the heat off the coils and removes it out here at the top, and that's how we get our cooling inside the box. So these are absorption type refrigerators, so they take about 10 to 12 hours for them to actually cool down. So ahead of time you want to turn it on and let that cool down. Storage over here on the left, but this is my inverter. Now the inverter takes battery power. It takes 12 volts and it converts that to 120, so I can run some appliances inside. And in this coach, mainly it's going to be things like my TVs and my stereo equipment, my DVD and stuff. So I can run those when I'm dry camping. I can actually just turn the inverter on inside. It's going to use the battery power here that's located in the step. We have batteries that are here behind the cover. It's going to convert that 12 to 120 volt. So I want to show you where those batteries are. We're going to pop this up. The way that you get to this is you just flip that up. You want to turn it at an angle. I've found that that's the best way to achieve that. We're going to open this up, turn that, pull this out, and I'm going to turn that as well. So you can see you have these Discovery dry cells. They don't require any water, no maintenance, but if you needed to get into them, there's also some fuses in behind there, and you may see that in your manual. But if you ever needed to get into those, and look at that, these just slide out just like they do. And we also have a temperature sensor on this negative lead, and that goes into the charger, so it helps us to charge up accurately these batteries based on the temperature of the battery. So, but you can see in the back, I don't know if you can see that. See that cover? That covers up a bunch of fuses. And then there's a fuse here also as well. This is part of the solar system. So we have a solar panel on top, and then we have a solar controller. And if that fuse were to blow for protection, then you wouldn't get any solar power into your batteries from the controller. We're going to slide these in. They go into a slot, so they can't go any other way. And then once we get those in, we can put our covers back on. Again, go at an angle. Do that. We're going to spin this and just put them right back on. I'm making this look easy because I've done about 200 or 300 of these. It's easy once you do it a couple of times. So we have a step here that runs in and out, and the step has a switch on it up here, and I'll be able to lock that step in and out on the controller. Okay, so when I'm talking about my step, I can go through here and I can set that up. I believe on this one the step switch is right here at the top. They've got a few switches up here that I've almost missed. This one here is your step switch. So that'll be your step switch. This is the water heater outside. This is the controller for it. We're going to go over that here in just a second. When I come into a coach, first thing I usually do if I pulled up my coach to a spot is I'm going to level this system up. So I'm going to level the coach up on this system, and you can do that by hitting power. You want to make sure that the brake is on here. We've got our parking brake set, and just make sure you have good battery voltage, and so then we can level up. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's just do an auto level. So that's running hydraulic jacks down on the ground, and it's got a level sensor built into it, so it's going to based on if the coach is low in the front, the right, the left, or the rear, it's going to automatically level this coach up. And so I can tell that the front end's low on this right now. So it's going to probably put the front down first and then pick that up and lift us up on the ground. Now, it's going to lift us up, and really, ideally, you would like for the tires not to be off of the ground. You're going to lose your stability that way. So if you have to, you could use some blocks under the tires, but you could also use some blocks underneath the jacks to help make up that space that you might have in a low spot. So we're just going to let it work and let it do that. You don't necessarily have to level up when you get to a spot if you're just going to sleep overnight, but just so it stabilizes the coach. When you walk around in the coach, you don't want to feel yourself on the springs and the tires. It's best to put down the leveling jacks, and then you'll be rock solid on the ground. So it's still doing its gyrations, it's lifting up the front end, and we're going to let, if you ever get into an area where it's too low for you to put the jacks down, and there's dips and it's very uneven and too much of an angle, you'll get this excess slope that's up here. If you get an excess slope, the unit will usually just stop operating at that point, and that usually means you need to put jacks up, blocks underneath your jacks, or you need to move to a different spot just to get a good level. And so this thing's almost done. When it's done, it'll turn off just like that, and you can turn off power. So we're pretty level here, and there's ways to recalibrate this and everything like that, but most of these are done at the factory, so you shouldn't need to touch that at all. Just take one more look outside at the front. Now this inverter, by the way, is controlled inside on the container inside. So I'm going to lift this up here. Just another storage compartment, okay, here in the front. Just handy to have another one outside right by the door when you need it. And we're going to open up this door, and we're going to look at our awning controls. Now the awning, you can run this awning in and out on the switches here. I believe this one you can operate also in the controls. I may have to edit this here, let me see. These things, when you keep them in a while, they stay
stuck.
Yeah, they get stuck. Let me do this. I'll probably have to lube it up. You see it's still trying to come out. They're so tight.
We'll take that part out.
So we'll take that part out. Now, these awnings also have a motion sensor built into them. So if the wind comes up, it starts rocking the awning, it's going to run in for you. Going to stop it right there for now. Give you a little demo of that. You want to check this from time to time just to make sure that all the sensor is working, everything's going well. And there we go. There's a light for the awning. It's on this control here. Outside light on your awning. And you also have a porch light. There we go. Okay, let's hop in and we're going to look at the controls on this thing. When you're done with the awning, by the way, turn off the power switch. So we're just going to turn it off here below the seat. This is the location of the toolkit. So the toolkit will be on this cover, as well as a fuse panel for the Mercedes. We won't open that. We'll take time to do that. Here's your chassis manuals up here on this one. So this is one of the main controllers. Would it be easier to film it here or over here?
Here's a good spot. That's fine.
Okay. We're going to go back in the home position, hit the top right-hand button, and it takes us back to this main panel, but we can also just hit clock, and that's going to give us a home position. The way these Dometic work is, in order for the time to be correct, that's actually activated off of an internet connection. So you could sync up your phone, you could have Wi-Fi go into this connection, and that's how it would read the correct time. But here we can see the battery. We're at 13.2 volts, inside and outside temperature. Now I'm going to hit this top right hand button because I want to go and look at some of the controls. There's a lot of controls on here, And if I want to set up some of the lights, I may do this, and this all scrolls down with my finger, and so I can just tap those or slide them over as needed. And that's assist handle. We have assist handle inside and out. Utility center, tons of lights. Even the awning light is out here still. And you can use that awning light even with the awning in. And of course our porch light. So we're going to do this too. We're going to come back to them. And what we're going to do is press and hold that. And when you do, you can actually dim the light that you press and held. And so you have all these controllable lights. You can actually dim them. So if we're watching a movie at night, you can pull that light down. Okay, so we're in the light section. We're going to go back to the menu. Mechanical is going to be anything like that opens up, like these vent fans for the galley, vent fan for the lid. And what we're going to do is turn on power. And we're going to open that up. We're going to close that. Let's open it back up. And so that vent fan is going to open up. And when I turn on power, it's going to turn it on. And so I've got full control over all my vents from any of these control panels. These control panels are all the same here in the living area, the bedroom, and in the bathroom. So I have all these same control panels. But you can see they're mechanical movement, so they're going to be in what's called the mechanical. And then when we go to climate, we can actually turn on the climate, and we can do the climate control. And what I'm looking at now is this is the temperature, that the set point. So if I come in here, I've got it on fan only, so I might want to scroll this over and go to cool and turn that into cool. See, it turned to cool. There's my fan. I want to put my fan. I can put it in auto. You can go to low or high, and then back to the main screen of temperature. So anytime you change temperatures or you change fan modes, air conditioning is going to kick off temporarily and then start back up. It's going to have a slight delay before it puts any more control to the air conditioner. But that's how you control your cooling inside. Now if I wanted to do the furnace, I can come over here to this one, and it's going to go to heat, and that would be my furnace. Now I can go from the LP furnace, which is down at the vents on the floor, but I can also use the heat pump that's up top. And the way that I do that, let me try to remember that. So I come back over here to the main screen. I come back over here, I believe it's to settings, and I have to go to heat mode, and I have to change it actually from furnace. Let's see if I can do this here. And I can edit that and actually go to heat pump. And so you would put it in whichever mode you want to use, or you could use auto. Now auto, what that's going to do is, in the heat pump mode, if I have it in auto, it's going to use the furnace as an assist. So if I get about 10 degrees away from the temperature, it's going to turn on the heat pump, and then it's going to turn on the furnace to assist that, and then once it gets closer, it's going to turn off the furnace and just run the heat pump like I've got it in now. So that's the auto mode. And so you can pick and choose whichever one of those you want to run based on what you have. If you have shore power, you might want to run the heat pump. As long as the weather's, you know, above 36 degrees, you can do that, 36 degrees Fahrenheit. Get below that, it's not going to be very efficient. So let's go to this here. I can set it up for Fahrenheit or Celsius, whichever one you want to go. We're going to go back and look, and you can see I was in climate mode there, and you can, as you go through here, you can set up fan like this, and if I go to fan, there's fan only. I can just have the fans running. If I want to go to back to auto, you know, auto's going to turn the fan just like your house. It's going to switch back and forth between cool and heat mode, okay, automatically. Well, let's turn on the cool mode like we were going to do, and that's going to use the air conditioning on the rooftop. Now, driving down the road, you can of course run your generator. You can run that air conditioning if you want to driving down the road. There's no problem in that. So we're going to go back to the main position here. We're going to look at the other thing that this thing has. It has another function here called AGS, which is automatic Genstart. And you can run that generator for a couple of different conditions. You can run it for voltage. So here it's set up, if the voltage gets below 11.5, it'll come on. The generator will run for however much time I got it set for. Let's look at that. Run time 60 minutes. So it'll run for 60 minutes and then it'll shut back off. You can also do it for temperature. If your temperature in your coach were to get too hot or something like that, you could run it. Cut that just a second. I'm trying to find the temperature. Climate control. So here's where you could go actually edit it for climate. So when your thermostats call for cooling temperature, at that point, there it goes. It just started up the generator, and because I had the thermostat set on cool, it cranked up the generator. Okay, we're going to turn that back off. And that was it. There's also a generator exerciser that you can put on here, so you can have it start the generator up. And by the way, you want to start that generator up probably every month, so that you can let's see if I can turn off this generator with power. There we go. So we're going to turn that generator off. Hold on just a second. There we go. Let's go back to here, back to home position. So anyway, automatic Genstart. There's also times that you can set up for quiet times in a park. They don't want you running the generator at certain times at night and early morning, so you can actually set those up so the generator will not come on automatically during those times. There's another mode called auto charger, so that if the batteries needed charging, you could have that come on and charge your batteries up with the generator. So a lot of this can be for dry camping when you're sitting out in a spot and you don't have shore power available. So we're going to go back to the home position here, and we'll just press that. You got to use the tips of your fingers. They're pretty small little buttons on here. And we're going to look at the room. So the room lets us do certain functions. We can turn like all entry lights on and off for that particular room, like inside of here, the porch lights or whatever. And here we can also run the, now I have to have the power switch back on the awning, but I can run the awning in and out from here as well. But I do have to have the power turned on there. Okay, so we're going to go back to the corner mode again, to the main menu, and we're going to look at notifications. If you get a fail code or a fault code on this system, you can look and it will give you whatever notification that was, whatever kind of fault it was, and you can get that rectified or fixed or whatever, and then you can clear out that code for the next time or for the next period that you're using the coach. Now we're going to look here at fuses. This lets us look and see what fuses might be blown on the coach as well. And a lot of these fuses in this coach are electronically reset fuses. So as I'm looking here, everything's okay, so we won't actually turn any of these off or on as needed, but they're all okay. But if we saw one that was blown, like say for the galley light, it would actually either say open or failed or turn off right here. And that's the system protecting you. So they're automatic fuses, they actually turn off. And then it says right up here, no fuses are blown. So it just gives us an indication that all systems are good, everything's ready to go. That's cobweb on. Okay, so we're gonna look at this. Go back to the corner button. We're gonna look at the lights again. And again, you can customize these lights and dim them as needed. We're gonna look at the tank levels. And so right now we can look at the fresh, the black, and the gray. And we can also look at the LP tank. The LP tank is full. The 80% level is full. And then you can see the fresh is empty and the gray and the black. This is how we want to start out, with the gray and black being empty, so that we have plenty of room in those tanks when we go out to use it. And then on the fresh, we'll be putting some water in for you when you go to use it, or when we get it delivered to you. But let's go back to this. And then we go to settings. There's some things you can do in here on settings, and some things you probably don't want to even touch, but you can look at the general information, which is a lot of versions and things about your coach and that sort of thing, and kind of what's happening and how things are set up. Now we're going to go back here, we're going to go back to settings. You can also look at, you can configure a mobile app. So what this will let you do is you can actually load a mobile app on your phone, And that mobile app will actually allow you to control the lights and the fans and some of the other operation in this coach from your telephone, from your smartphone. So you can do that if you need to, if you want to. And we can also turn on our satellite from here. So this has a satellite dish on top of it. And they put it in this menu, I believe, because they really want you to go to the menu and actually turn it on and off as needed, but they don't want to just put it in with the lights and the fan. So here we just tap on that. Now that turns on the satellite dome on top of the roof. That's going to spin around. It's going to find the satellite in the sky. Once it locks in, then we'll have our picture on the TVs, and then we can hook up our dish network or direct TV. I believe right now it's set up for direct TV as a default. So, and you can have this particular control set up for as a default. Which room do you want? This is the entry room. And then you can also do the standby screen. You can have the clock selected. If you wanted to see this information here on this particular room screen, you can go to that. Okay, so again, the buttons are real small and you've got to want to push them, so you got to get in there with your fingertips. And go back to settings, and you can look and see, you can go to Fahrenheit to Celsius, change the brightness on the display, audio level, because this thing will click and acknowledge when you tap a screen and what time format you're in. Inverter sleep mode, you can put the inverter to have it go to sleep if there's no loads on it, and that's what we've got it set up for right now to enable it. But I wanted to go back here, and I want to go to the power, and I want to show you one mode here. If I were dry camping, I'm sorry, let's go back to the AGS, and I'm trying to find it at the moment. It's been a few days since I worked on this. I'm looking for the inverter screen. Where's it at? Settings. So it's inverter sleep enabled, on and off. So here's some quick buttons for you. If you go to the star, and you can see that if you got rain, you can do like this, and that's going to shut all the vents that might have been open, so you don't have to go to the individual menus and shut those on and off. Or if you need fresh air, or if you're going to go to sleep at night and you say good night, that turns off all the lights in one place right here. And then if you're going to wake up, it's going to turn on some lights that you have assigned to that. And of course I can turn the exterior lights on, which is my porch light and my awning light, okay? And then you can do all of the interior lights if you want to. So this is a place that you can just quickly go to and see that. Okay, so you might want to cut it here until I can find the inverter. It's here somewhere. Power, usually that's where I go. There it is, right at the top. So in the power section, when you want to turn the inverter on and off, you're just gonna hit power right here. I'm sorry. Power, and inverter's at the very top. Okay, and what we're seeing now is the inverter is actually on, but we're plugged in, so it's on grid mode is what's happening. So it's actually running off the grid, but it will be inverting if I go pull the shore power. We can also look at the chassis battery, so we probably need to start up the chassis battery. We'll have that started and get that charged up. And then the house battery here that you see, this is actually being charged by the charger when I'm plugged in, and then I can scroll down and see that my charger is actually in an absorption mode, and that's the middle stage of the charge. And when it fully charges, it's going to get to a float charge. It begins in a bulk charge, goes to this absorbing charge probably for a couple of hours, and then it ends up in a float charge once the battery is fully charged. And we can see some other details about the charger. That's the charge current. That's actually said. This is the current being used by the charger at this time, or the AC input coming in, 3.4 amps. And this is the load that's put on it. And nothing really right now because we are plugged into shore power. Here's the generator hours. So this is important. We've only got 0.7 hours on this. And so there's where you would look for your generator hours. When you get to the 50 hours, that's your break-in on the generator. You want to go ahead and do the oil change, and then you can go out another 250 hours between that. And of course the AGS is turned off right now. You can clear out the AGS settings, or you can turn it on from the other panel that we were at previously. So we're going to look at this. That was the notification, and we're going to come back to that. And some people like to just have this up so they can see the temperature and have their time linked up with their internet, and that's how that'll work. Plus you see battery voltage here. But all these panels will work the same here on the wall, in the bathroom, and in the bedroom. So they're all going to be the same. You can set them up, but you can customize that particular room and what you want to see on the room setting. So we already put the jacks down, and if I were going to set up the water heater, what I would do is probably go to every hot faucet, turn it on, run the air out of that hot line side. I would do it here, the shower, outside at the faucet, in at the laboratory, in the bathroom. And after I've done that and I've turned the LP on outside, I'm going to take this dial and I'm going to switch it up to the first setting, and you should see a solid light come on just like that. And when that comes on, that's going to circulate. It's going to heat the hot water and circulate it to every tap in this coach. And that's what we call the comfort mode right here. Now there's another mode for it called the economy mode, and that only heats water when you turn on the faucet. So there's going to be a delay between you getting hot water at every faucet. It's a lot faster when you go to comfort mode. Everybody really likes the comfort mode because it gets hot water at a tap immediately right away. The only thing is, if you're a light sleeper, you might want to at nighttime either turn it off or go to eco mode, because that's going to run and it's going to circulate back in here, and you're going to hear that from time to time turn on. There it is at the top. If you look at the Truma water heater there at the top, so you'll hear that kick on in comfort mode because it's got a little circulation pump in it. But there are 4 valves behind that Truma water heater, and these are bypass valves. So you'll read about this you're going to read about that in your manual. So when you winterize, you want to bypass this water heater. So what you would do is you would turn these valves on the red and the blue lines. You turn them opposite of what they are now. And the one with the white line on it is actually a drain. So you could drain that first and then close it back off like it is. But all the other valves, you want to go the opposite position. So that way when you are pumping antifreeze outside in that line, it's going to just come up through the lines in the back of the water heater and go back out the hot line, and then you'll have that antifreeze in all the lines in the coach, the hot and the cold. And so that's the quick way of winterizing this coach. It's a very easy thing to do. But just pay attention to the valves when you go to winterize, so that you do get antifreeze up in to the back of the water heater completely in each one of these lines. You can see this is the water pump here below, on-demand water pump, so anytime I turn on the faucet, I'm going to get water flow. And then I have my little bitty small filter that you can see right here on the bottom going into the water pump. After a couple of months of use, 2 or 3 months of use, you can open that up, take the pressure off your coach first, turn off the water pump, open that up and clean it out, because it's going to have a little bit of debris in it, being new tanks and new lines in this. There might be a little plastic debris in this that's caught in this, and you just want to clean that out. So that's a good time to do it after 2 or 3 months. And right below that, you can see is my furnace. So this is an LP furnace, actually a suburban furnace, and you can see the ductwork where it comes out, and then on the other side. So everything's very accessible, easy to get to. So one thing we're going to do here, we're going to take a look in the back. And so these cushions here, this is your theater seating. So you have control here over the seats, and so you can put a chair out and just really recline, really relax. So you got them on each side when you're watching this TV. Now this TV is, as well, it has a sound bar right here, and there's remotes for all of this in the cabinet. While we're talking the back of the bedroom, we got a safety window here. We just lift up on the red handles, and then we push that at the bottom, and that's how we would escape if we needed to from this bedroom area. And then in the front you would have the door, and then the cab doors that you can get out of. So I'm going to open this up. This is a good place as well. Some people will store the table in here, but if you look over here on this cushion there's our actual dining table, and what they're actually storing it down below here now, which is a better place, I believe, right here. And you see there's a slot here, and so this table would fit just side. Yeah. Wow. So anyway, that's how it would go in there.
Okay.
All right. So I didn't know if you wanted to film that or not. All right. So let's set this table up, because everybody's going to be wanting to set this table up. And there's two different ways to do it. You can set it up here on this side, but you can also use these two attachments here for the back. It's a little bit off. Let's see if I can do this without hurting anybody. So there's a little keyway here. Put that where I can get it out of the way, and you can just drop that on there. That up. But it makes a pretty quick table, so I can put this over. Be able to have my dining area here. I can also do it up there in front where the seats are. There's actually a round pole, so I can do it there. It's just a little different setup, and these all have the fasteners on the side, so I can tighten this down, and everything will be secure. I'm going to loosen this up. Take this off. And just for the demo, I'm going to move this out of the way. So this can store underneath this seat here and really keep it out of the way. So what we're going to do is pull down this bed, and so I'm going to be taking these cushions, and I can move these out of the way over here if I need it. And I'm going to kind of tuck this control maybe out of the way here, and if I put that up, this is the rest that it's going to do. I'm going to grab the bed here, make sure everything's clear out of the way. I might want to take this cushion and just kind of move it out of the way, because I don't want to get. And that's the release. So that releases the lock on it, and this pulls down. It makes a real quick bed. So there we go. How handy is that? So that makes a nice bed area. And when you get ready to fold it back up, it's just the opposite. You're just going to grab the little strap, pull it to release it, and then you can raise that back up, and it'll lock into place as you travel. Okay. And these are just all your storage. You got a handle on the bottom, a lock that you can actually squeeze to release. It's got all of these pull-down shades, so we can pull those down and keep things nice and cool, or we can keep things nice and shaded with the solar shade. You have another controller back here, a Dometic controller, as well as the USB charge ports here, and then the GFI protected outlet. Just a lot of big storage space that you see here. Okay. And when you open the doors, you can see this has a bullnose latch on it here. So I can do this and put this here and lock that in. So I got privacy now. So we separated the living area from the hallway and the bathroom and everything, and then I can open that. Somebody locked the door. Shower door has a little Mylar door that we can open and close. And of course, we got our light here. The switch is right on the light, and you can raise and lower the shower here with the slide. And of course, I got my water control, and then I've got my shut off on the shower, so I can get the water at the temperature I want, shut it off here, and I don't waste water when I'm trying to use it. And they did put in these nice handles in the shower. You can see that, just like in the outside grab handles. Really handy that they have that now. It's real sturdy. So we're going to undo this, shut this door, lock me out. Oh, there's nobody in here. But yeah, look, see, so they got a lock on the bathroom door. So make sure that when you're shutting this, you don't grab it and lock it and do like I did and go down with it. And now the door handle's locked and I shut it and the door's locked. But you can always get a penny or something, small screwdriver, and unlock the door. So. But this is an electric toilet in here. This is a macerator toilet, okay? And your controls are on the side, so you have a flush, and then you also, or you have a fill, and then you also have a flush. So it's going to macerate and chew and grind and chew and put everything to the black tank, and that goes down into the black tank. And also, when you run this lavatory dumps into the black tank as well. So they're sharing a tank for that space, since you don't use quite as much black tank space as you do gray. We're going to shut this up, and that's a saw close lid on there too, so that we can close that, and it's just going to close. And then we open this up, the little hidden storage compartment in the back. I really like that. It's kind of cool. And then we've got this latch here that you can release for the mirror. It's all pretty self-explanatory. That gives me a little mirror to get ready in the morning. Another Dometic control panel, but it's pretty much it's got all the functions that all these other ones do in the front and in the back. This is our LP CO detector here at the bottom. You see it with the green light on. As far as safety goes, there's a smoke detector up here above my head. And then I have a fire extinguisher right by the door. So don't forget, guys, that that's there, and it's there for your safety, and you're good. These refrigerators open up from either side. It's something new that Dometic has set up on these new fridges, which is awesome and really great. And I'm going to show you how to turn this fridge on. This is the dial controls. So we're actually going to press it, and then press it and hold it till the light comes on and let off of it. Now right now it's in the auto mode and it's selected electric because I'm plugged in, and that just tells you the internal inside. There's a little small fan, circulation fan on the inside as well, and the cold is turned all the way to the cold side. But we can control all of this, and we can change this if we want to by pushing this button. And now I can rotate this, and so I can change it here back to from auto. I can go to any one of these modes that I want to. I can go from auto to LP to battery to electric, and then scroll back to the other page. Now I'm going to leave it in auto mode right now because I'm going to let it do the switching for me. And the beauty of that is that when I drive down the road, it's going to switch to battery. This is a three-way fridge. So run on electricity, LP, or battery. But that's a safe mode to travel in. So when I crank up, there's going to be enough voltage that it senses that alternator voltage, and it's going to switch to battery. Another feature that they have on here is a stop feature. So that if I stop and I get fuel and I'm at a gas station, this will not automatically switch over to LP. It will wait for about 10 minutes. And then it's going to switch over to LP if needed. But hopefully, maybe by 10 minutes, you'll already be on the road. You'll be back on alternator, and it'll be on battery, which is a safe way to travel. There's some other features that we can do in here. I just turned it off. And that's how you turn it off. You press and hold it until it beeps and the display goes off. But if I want to it's real touchy. Okay. And there's a lot of other features that I can go into, and you can see that I can turn the light on and off, and I can dim it as needed. I can turn the fan on and off right there, the internal fan. I usually want to leave that on, especially under hot weather. I can turn the alarm on and off, and then I have one more feature here. It's a door heater, so if you're in a very humid environment and you're getting moisture on the outside of your freezer door, you can turn on that door heater, and that's going to eliminate a lot of this moisture that might build up on the outside of this fridge. We're not going to do it right now, but if you're in a humid environment and you develop moisture around there, you can do that. And so we're going to do that, and Just gonna let it cool down. I just turned this on, so again, it's gonna take probably 10 or 12 hours for it to cool down to actually doing that. When you stop and put this in storage, you want to turn off the fridge, and then you want to take everything out and you want to block the door open to let it thaw out. You also want to absorb any water that's in here. Take a towel and get the water up or moisture, and you want to leave the door propped open just a little bit to allow some airflow so we don't have mold or mildew build up in that. Right above us is our convection microwave, and this is a convection oven, a grill, and a microwave. So if I were going to run this on convection, I might just hit convection till at 250 degrees, and I might preheat it with start. And so it's cooking with hot air right now. It's preheating with hot air. There are some quick directions right here on the top. So if you're needing to quickly do something and you don't want to look it up in the manual or online, which you can find a lot of information on the website about these, you can just read it at the top. But it has a grill on it too, so we can actually brown foods up here at the top. And then I have this position grill. If I wanted to, I could put in there and get things closer to the top, or use it for the convection as well, so the air will circulate around your food and cook a lot more thoroughly. And so we got the grill, and then the microwave. The microwave, I would just take this out and then, you know, say clear, and then maybe hit like 1 minute if I'm doing a cup of coffee or something, and heat that up. So there's a lot more features of this, and you can look at that in your manual, or go online and do Hot Point's website, and there's a lot of info out there, usually a lot of recipes and stuff as well. We were talking about solar earlier. This actually has some solar panels on top of it, and here's the solar charge regulator up in here. So you can just take your finger and just tap on the B button. That's going to give you voltage. That voltage will be the same as the house battery voltage here, because that's what we're looking at. And then we can tap it again, and we actually can see the amount of current, the amount of amperage going into the batteries from the solar panels. So if you're sitting out in the sun and you're wondering if you're getting any solar power, you can come up here and actually tap these buttons and look and see. Now it's telling me that I'm not getting anything at the moment because I'm underneath a cover, and it's sort of a cloudy day sometimes out here, and plus the batteries are fully charged, so it's not going to put any charge into the batteries if they're fully charged. Now I'm charged because I'm on shore power actually right now, and that's what it's seeing. But if I pulled this out into the sun and I went to current, I'd actually see, you know, you can see 4 or 5, 6 amps or whatever off of those panels. If it's a 200 watt system. If it's a 400 watt system that you have, and I'm not sure on this, you'll get a lot more current. You'll probably get twice as much as that. So you can get, you know, get up to 16 amps or something like that on the average. Okay. Now this makes into a sleeping a bed area here. As you can see, these have hinges on them, these covers. So you take out the cushions, you fold those over. Of course, you have the table out of the way, and you can also do this side as well. So when you fold that over, it's going to rest here on the floor, and then you can put your cushion ends and make this one big sleeping area here. I think they also have an option that you can order an inflatable cushion, and that would go in between the driver and passenger seat and make that a sleeping area up front if you had grandkids or a lot of kids coming to stay with you and stuff. So we're going to open this up and look in here. I've got my remotes for all the TVs and all the other equipment that I have in here. Here's the filter for the water heater that goes actually in it. It's labeled top, so we'll be putting that in for you before you go to use it. And when I open up this compartment here, completely hidden, hard to see, but this is the place. This is my Blu-ray player here, and you can see I've got a button over here for my booster, for my antenna booster, and I have another button over here for the Wi-Fi booster. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but I'm going to turn on the HDMI switch as well, and then I might want to turn on my Blu-ray player. So now I'm going to turn on my TV, and I'll show you how to switch between those. Now this will go, the DVD player will go not only to the front TV, but it'll go to the rear TV as well, and that's all switched through the HDMI switcher. So when I've got my TV turned on, Try that again. Oh, wrong TV. The back one is a Samsung TV. The front one is this Connex TV. It's kind of hard to read. I think that's what they call it, Connex. So we're going to turn that on. So I got to hit the right remote. And what I want to use on the Connex TV is I want to use the input button to select my HDMI coming from this switch. So I'm going to do that. Come down here. Go to HDMI number 1. That's going to be the input that you need. So when I have my right here, this is the table or the initial setup for the DVD player. But if I press that and open that up and then close that, you can see. Let me get this out of there. And so I'm going to exit out of this here. Get out of here. I do want wireless setups. Basically, you're going to go back to the home position, and it's showing all the wireless. So this is a smart DVD player. So you could hook up your internet to it. You can make your phone a mobile hotspot, and then you could stream your stuff, your movies or whatever, to your TV through your DVD player. But this is the Blu-ray player, and that's how you get it from this player to your TV. You're going to do the same thing in the rear. You're going to take the Samsung, use the source button, go to HDMI number 1, and that is going to give you your programming that you have up here. I do have another spot here that I can put a satellite receiver in this thing, and right now it's defaulted for DirecTV. So if I put my DirecTV receiver into here, I connect to the back of the switch box here, then I could just change the input like this and like this, and then that's going to put the satellite to input to the HDMI input on the TV. So I can go back and forth. So I could be watching satellite up here, and then I could be watching a Blu-ray in the rear. So everything could be separate. So I have all those options. Or I could be watching local TV on this program, on this television, watching Blu-ray in the back, or satellite. I'm going to go back to local TV. Every time you go to a different area, you're going to want to scan that area for the channels. And so right now, these are our local digital channels, and they're coming in real well. But if I did not have this button here turned on, you can see it just stops, it pixelates. That's because I've lost my picture, I've lost my power on the antenna. I'm going to turn that back on. Now we get a good signal because that's boosting that antenna. The other one that you see at the right, that is for the Winterizing Connect. And the way that that works is I can take my phone and go into the Bluetooth mode, or I'm sorry, the Wi-Fi mode, and I can scan for this antenna. And when I see that, I'm going to be seeing these Winterizing selections. So this is one of these is going to be the number of your antenna on top. And if I select that, then I would need to put in a password and an address for that. And those are going to be in your manuals. In your owner's manual, you're going to have the password and the address that you need to use when you want to boost the local Wi-Fi signal. So you may be in a campground and you need to increase that signal, and so you'll just use this antenna on top, and so you can boost your signal with that. This is the owner's manual here inside of here. So we have all these manuals, and then part of this is going to be the owner's manual, and there's going to have the Winterizing Connect in here. I got to find it. All the instructions about the Dometic controller that you see over there, that's in here as well. So just about every manual that you need, that you have equipment in here, you're going to refer to it in here. And so when I look in here, I know, see if I can, oh, there it is. So the Road Trip T4 antenna, that's what they call this thing. And so when you go in there, there's going to be a password right here. There's going to be a model number. If I open this up, there's going to be, there's going to be a password on it as well. I got to find the right instructions. Here it is. Winterizing Connect. So when we look at this, your password is going to be here, right here. So I'm looking for this name of this antenna, the name of this modem that's up there in top on the antenna, and then I'm going to put in this password, and that's going to get you the boosting of the antenna. Now these Winegard Connects will do boosting of the local Wi-Fi, but they also will do mobile internet. And what you can do is you can get a micro SD card from Verizon or AT&T service, and you can have that put in the antenna up top, and you can have mobile internet service. So it's two different things that this Winegard Connect will do for you. So we're gonna look inside of here. I got a couple more things. Here's a video. Oh look, there's actually a customer walkthrough video here. So you guys can compare notes. See which one you like the best. Okay, so there's a privacy curtain in here as well. I'll just lay this in here. And this privacy curtain's got snaps on it, so it'll go up here, and it goes around the visors. You put the visor down, and you go around that. It's going to give you privacy and also black out some of the heat coming into your coach. This thing that you see up here, this was actually a mattress cover for that mattress in the bedroom. So it's got a nice mattress cover there. Be careful when you open these doors that you don't have a door sticking up in the way. These are clearing pretty good. I'm going to put that back in there in a second. But this is the electronics here. There's also, this is where you hook up your satellite to satellite number 1. You could always put another satellite receiver in here as well and go into the back of this, and that would give you options of watching different satellite programming on this TV versus the one in the bedroom. So there's capability there to do that. And this would be that outside, that external satellite that we looked at in the wet bay. That's a connection for it. When you do, if you ever put in an HDMI cable in this, folks, you want to unsnap this right here to give you free movement of this. And that way you can kind of pull this down. Be careful of your cables. You can hook up your HDMI input over here. There's going to be another slot available. Actually, there's going to be 1, 2, 3 slots available. And then you could have that come in and then gently put this back up there, snap it back in place so that when you travel it don't go sliding around. And then you'll have your HDMI, run it down and through the back and just run it out through this opening. That way you'll have it for whatever you want to hook up. You don't have to hook a satellite receiver up. You can hook up a computer, an Xbox, or some other device if you want to. Stovetop. We didn't really cover this. Pretty simple. You just go to where the lightning bolt is, you push and hold that, and then we can ignite our stove. Hold this down a few seconds and then you can let go of it. And that's how we light it. If I don't hold this down long enough, you see it goes out. That's a safety valve, so it don't have gas flowing into your coach for no reason. And so we got those off. Always cook with this up and open up some ventilation. And you can see you have this vent fan here we talked about earlier. And then also, you've got the real big vents here. They've got this new feature on this large skylight that lets me put it up like this, and then I could push those little tabs down and actually lock that into place, so if the wind kicked up, it wouldn't rock it up and down. But when you go to store it, go ahead and lift up on that, come down, and then you can store it. There's another feature too, you can open it up like this. If you had a step stool, you could probably get up there and clean your solar panels without getting up on top of the roof. A little easier to do it that way. This has got a blackout shade, and it's got a solar sheet. Keep the bugs out. So that works pretty good. Make sure those are straight. There we go. You don't want to go down the road with that up, because there's always the chance that the wind's going to knock it and make it come back down. So make sure that is secure before you travel. So we got some storage in here. We talked about that. That's a temperature sensor that you see underneath that. Okay, let's talk about driving a little bit. There. So this is the keyless start. So I've got to have some keys up here in the proximity to get this started. Oh, by the way, when you look at the key fob on this thing, you have the strange looking key here. This is for your compartments outside. And I have another set of keys here somewhere, but you have 2 sets of these keys, and so you're going to have 4 key fobs. But yeah, that's the key that opens up all the compartment doors outside. And so just have this up here. There's another place down below that we can actually put it in the slot there, to reprogram that key fob or to have it made up with the computer in here. So I'm going to step on the brake to actually start it up. I'm going to hit my start button. Now that alarm that you hear right there in the back, that's actually telling me the jacks are down, so don't drive off. It's telling you don't drive off with the jacks down. So before I would come up here and I would drive off, of course, I'm going to retract my jacks, and that's just about all you have to do there is hit power and you hit all retract. We're already up here now and we're going to leave the jacks down, but we're not going to move anywhere. So we're going to do that. We're going to turn on some AC. Without getting too loud. We've got the recirculate button here. AC's here. There's my emergency flashers there. You can see them. I've got my vent control for defrost here, and then I've got my temperature selection on the left-hand side. So I've got it in park right now, and that's the parking brake here. When you want to release the parking brake, of course you're going to put it in drive. This is the shifter for drive. I'm going to lift up on this handle, push down on the thumb button, and then that takes off the parking brake. Now you felt that. That was the automatic retract. If you do try to drive off with the jacks down, you're hearing the jacks doing an emergency retract. And so you've got that working for you. But I'd like for you to put them up with a keypad first before we do it this way. But this is just a fail-safe so that we don't have any driving off with the jacks down. So those will go up here in a second. You can see I'm in drive right now on the dash, and you do that with a shifter. If I go to reverse, you'll see the backup camera here, and then I can select different features of that. I can see wide, fisheye, and some different things. So I'm going to go back down to drive. Now this will not stay on full time. The way Mercedes operates this, they actually disable this when you drive forward. It'll stay on for about 10 or 12 seconds, and then after I drive, it'll go off. But I'm in drive. And if I wanted to downshift into gears, I've got paddle shifters here on the side, so I can actually, there I am in fourth, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and then back to automatic drive of all speeds. So I can actually hold it in a gear when I'm getting on a mountain or an incline, or if I just want to quickly take off from an area and manually shift through the gears, I can do that. There's a tilt on the wheel here, and it telescopes. I can get that someplace that I like, lock it in, and I'm good to go. You also have indicators on the dash if I have a door open. Now the passenger door is open slightly. I didn't close it all the way, so you get an indicator that the door is open here that you see. When you stop and you want to put this thing in park, you can do it from drive. Just hit that center button. It'll go into park like that. And of course, I like to pull my parking brake just like that. But I get calls on this about not being able to take it off because people can just push it down and move it out of the way so that these seats can be swiveled, but that's not taking off the parking brake. See, it's still on, so I want to pull it up, push down, and now you can feel the tension on it. So that, and always look up here to know that your parking brake is off, so you don't want to drive with that on. You're going to be smelling brakes burning and things like that, or parking brake material. Okay, so I'm driving. The idea behind all these controls is to keep your eyes facing forward, and the ones on the left are going to do your cruise control here, so I can turn on my cruise control, and then I can set that as I go down the highway. These have a lot of safety features on them. They have the braking assist on them. They have the adaptive cruise control on them, so if I come up on somebody and I got the cruise on, it's going to take the cruise off and start braking me. Also, if I get on the lines on the side of the road, it's got the keep lane assist, and so it's going to vibrate the steering wheel and put the brake on if I start running off the road. Just different features like that. There's also, you know, anti-sway, anti-rollover. Then we have side curtain airbags in this, so there's a lot of updates that have gone on in these new Mercedes chassis. But these features over here, if I go to the home position, you can see a lot of the things on the dash that I can scroll through, and I can just take my finger and I can just scroll, go back home, and then I can scroll through. One more time, Richard. There we go. So I can just scroll through service items and then scroll down to look at DEF fluid. Okay, go back to it, down to do oil, press it, and then I can see my oil level. So there's a lot of things that we can look at. I don't have any fail codes, any message codes. I can look at details on that if I wanted to. I could look at how much time it is between the service on this, all the things that you might like to look at. The drive assist, you can adjust the sensitivity of that driving forward using this button. So it's an active control. So if you want it a little more sensitive when you pull up behind somebody, you can make it more sensitive, or you could decrease it. You can see what I'm doing there as I go up and down. And so there's some little settings you can do there. And I'm going to go back and I can go over to my trip odometer. I'm seeing my mileage and my miles, and I can zero that out by holding down the button. So I just zeroed it out. I got 47 miles on there. And then we can scroll it down and look at some of our fuel mileage consumption, and we can reset some of those as well. Some MPG from reset. And then I can see my speedometer actually in digital rather than looking at the analog gauge if I need to be. So we're going to go back to home, navigation. If I had my nav system turned on over here, I can actually see some of the functions over here, just like that. And so I'm going northeast, and then I can scroll down and look at previous destinations that I might have set up in my nav system. I can go select those from here from the station. So we're going to go back over, and we're going to go to radio. So radio, I can go up and down in the stations. I'm going to go here, I'm going to go to radio. And so you can see as I scroll up, I'm going through radio stations without ever having to reach over here. Okay, so we're going to go to media. You can have your Bluetooth set up here also through the radio. You can have some controls of that. Also your telephone, you can Bluetooth your telephone. You can answer it over here on the right. And then you can go up and down with the volume. Okay, so we're going to go back to home. Go to settings. And settings just lets us do some of the vehicle settings in this. We can change the rain sensor, which, by the way, I'm gonna turn on the washer on the wipers. I'm gonna push in on this stick on the left, and you can watch the wipers go across. See, every inch is filled with water. Those are the nicest wipers that I've seen out there. So they do a complete watering of the whole windshield. So they really get things clean like we need it. But this will do your blinkers left and right, and then you got your intermittent wiper here. But you do have the rain sensors as well. So if it starts raining, they'll come on and wash your windshield. Okay, so we're going to go back here to the home position, and you can change the way some things are displayed. If you go down here, you can look at the depth fluid like all the time if you want to, or permanent like that, and then you can do it there. So now I've got the depth fluid always on the bottom. Some people like to drive and see that all the time. As well as the fuel. This is the diesel fuel over here on the left. When you see the white bars, you're full. And then you see the depth fluid all the way, the white bars, you're full there. Got your speedo over here and your tachometer on the right. So getting back to this screen over here, I can actually go home with this without ever touching that. And then I can scroll and I can select navigation. So I can do a lot of the radio controls over here that I don't need to reach over and do anything. This also has the voice command on some of the Mercedes. Let me turn that on. Let's see if I can do that. It's on standard. There, go back to nav, and I believe I've got that. Let's see if I got that on. So if I go to Mercedes,
do you have to say, "Hey Mercedes"?
Yeah, I think you just have to. Yeah. Hey Mercedes.
How may I help you?
You got it. So there it is. So it'll take you, and you can do the voice prompts for anything you need to do. So it doesn't like slang. It only likes you to say, "Hey Mercedes."
What can I do for you?
And you can actually turn that feature off if you need to, if it's driving you crazy by saying Mercedes all the time. But you can scroll through this. A neat thing here too, you can look at some of the engine parameters. with the engine here. You can look at fuel consumption over here on the big screen. And this is a good one here where we can look at the owner's manual while we're sitting. You got to be sitting still. You got to have the brake on or just be sitting still. But when you go back here, you can look at the manual and you can do a search. I wanted to look at the oil. I might oil and capacity and bring it up in the manual right here, so I can look at things and look at what the spec is on the oil and what the recommended viscosity of the oil might be. So a lot of neat little things there. And then of course you've got some other apps over here too. You could hook up your smartphone to this and have internet and have the browser on this screen as well. I think it will do, if we go back to radio here, this will also do the XM radio. I've got a few channels on here now. I'm not sure how long it will last as far as the service, but you can select for that. And this will give you FM channels, but it'll also give you the HD channels on this. So we're going to look back at this. I've got charging up here at the front. When you look at there's charge ports that you can see, the micro USBs that are there. So you have to have an adapter cable that would go from this micro USB to whatever your phone is. And then of course we have the induction charging here too for your phone. So if your phone charges by induction, you can lay it up in there right on that pad and that'll charge through the induction. That's a 12 volt charge line. And then we have another 12 volt down below right here, and another micro USB charge there. Lots of cup holders here at the top, side, in the doors, and here in the front. So never can have too many of the cup holders. And so anyway, that kind of concludes the tour of the Mercedes. Thank you.